Hello everybody! So I'm gonna tell you my story from the other day. It's been like I think a couple weeks since I made that last updates video. And you're gonna think I'm crazy. So yeah, I decided I'm just gonna try to keep it really short. But anyway, I'll keep going. Yeah. Oh, someone texted me. So a few months ago, I found out that God is real. Yep, you heard me right. I found out that God is real. It's been a series of things that have happened that made me realize that. I've grew up as a Christian pretty much since I was a young kid. I used to believe in God when I was younger, and throughout my life I've kind of drifted away from my faith, and then I've been drawn back. But I never really knew if God was real. I wanted him to be real, and I said that I accepted Jesus, but when it came down to it, I'm like, especially in high school and college, learning about evolution, and not a lot of people believe in God. There aren't a lot of Christians. It was hard for me. So basically, this was my reasoning. For being a Christian and believing in God. I figured at least if God is real and heaven and hell are real, then I will be going to heaven. But if heaven, hell, God is not real, then I will die and it won't matter. So I would rather have that, I guess, than I die, not believe, I die, go to hell, or not believe, die, and nothing happens. That was my rationale before. So basically, when it came down to it, I didn't know if God was real or not. I was also sort of, I guess you would say, the black sheep in my family. I didn't want to go to church. I hated church. I always wanted to do my own thing. I didn't care what my parents said. I was always fighting with them. In college, I was drinking, partying, like every, I guess, what you'd call normal college student. And I was rebelling a lot. And I just wanted to live my own way. I didn't want to have to conform and follow. I didn't want to just go to church and listen and do exactly what the Bible said just because it said it. I didn't want to be forced to do it either. There were times where I really struggled believing in God, really struggled. At one point I was an atheist, and another point I was doing witchcraft. I did witchcraft for about a year. I struggled with so many different things throughout my life. Different eating disorders and just having depression. I was bullied a lot in school, and life has always been a struggle. So I always thought, how can there be a God and that lets all this happen to me, like a loving God that really cares about you? Why is all this bad stuff happening to me? And it was just really hard for me to understand. Even though I said, oh, I'm a Christian, oh, I believe, these were things that I wasn't talking about with other people. And I had a good outward appearance to people outside my family. And actually, even my family didn't know a lot of things that have gone on in my life, because I kind of just kept it to myself. But anyway, fast forwarding my life to the last few months, I was researching about God and other religions, and I was listening to what atheists were saying, because I decided that I didn't want to believe in something that wasn't real. So I'm like, if God is real, if the Bible is true, and that's the truth like they say it is at church, then it can stand up to questioning. Basically, I wanted to know that it was the truth, because I'm like, there's only one truth. All the religions contradict each other, including atheism. If you're an atheist, it's almost a religion in itself, even though it's like you don't believe in any of it. It's like in itself it is a belief. So I'm like, one of them has to be true, whether it's atheism, whether it's Judaism or Hinduism or Wiccan or whatever. One of them had to be right, and the others, like, they can't all be true. So I just started researching. I watched a lot of YouTube videos of people's experiences. I listened to questions that atheists had, and I just kept learning more and more about the different religions, how they got started, what they believed. And the more I researched, and anytime I had a question, I wrote it down. And I was starting to find the answers to all my questions. I started to realize, I'm like, wow, there's actually more evidence for the Bible to be true than I thought there was. Because I was always afraid to question what was in the Bible. I was told not to listen to videos from atheists because then it'll make my faith, I don't know, lose its strength or something. But it's like, but what if they were right? And also, if they're wrong, and then you find the true answers and to their questions, then that would just make your faith stronger. So I didn't get it. I'm like, you know what? That got me angry, and I'm just like, I want to know what's real. So I'm going to, any question that anyone has, I want to put it to the test. So in conclusion, I came that there was more evidence for God to be true and the Bible to be true. So after concluding that, and it is a choice of faith, because you can rationalize yourself out of believing it, but I chose to believe it. Basically told God, I'm like, God, I give my life to you. I see that you're real. I give my life to you. Please forgive me for all the wrong that I've done, because I had done so many things. Like every single commandment in there, it says even if you think it, that's a sin. I'm like, yep, I've probably committed everything on there if that's true. And I always felt very guilty and depressed in my life, and a lot of anxiety my whole life. Like all the way up to the day before I did this. I was so depressed before. Like I didn't even want to ride horses that much anymore. Like it was really affecting me. Like you see me talk and you say, oh, she seems like such a happy person, like so joyful and energetic, and but the truth is that's like the outward appearance. Like inwardly I was really struggling. And so anyway, I'm like, God, I give you my life. I'm like, please change me. I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to. I'm like, whatever you want me to do, God. If you are a good God like you say you are and you love me, and I'm like, please just guide me. What do I do? Where do I go? And then all of a sudden I felt something. And I had felt this feeling before. It was like it went from my head all the way down to my toes, and it felt like kind of like tingling, warmth and tingling just going through my whole entire body. And I felt peace, and I felt joy, and I felt like everything was going to be okay. And it was like literally it felt like something was lifted off of me, and I just felt so happy, like this joy that I never felt before. I was like, what is this? What is going on? After I started feeling this, I'm like, you know what? I feel like I want to go to church. Now, a while ago, I had asked my sister, I'm like, Megan, ask me to go to church. So every week she'd ask me to go to church, and I would always find an excuse not to go, because I'm like, I wanted to go because I'm like, oh, church is good. But I'm like, I hate church. Like, it's boring. Like, it doesn't apply to me. I feel like I don't fit in. I feel like everyone there is like goody two-shoes, and just, I don't know. I just didn't feel a part of it. Anyway, so my sister asked me that this Sunday after everything happened, and she asked me, and I'm like, it was that morning of church, and I'm like, yeah, I actually want to go. And I'm like, well, this is weird. Like, I never want to go to church, and I always find an excuse not to go. So I went to church, and there's a part in the service where they have you go greet everyone, and I always feel so awkward because I have some anxiety, some like social anxiety, and I don't know these people. I don't, like, it sounds selfish, but I don't care about these people. Like, they don't have anything to do with me. So I'm at church and they're like, okay, go greet everyone. And all of a sudden I look around and I'm like, I care about these people. I feel like I love them. And I'm like, this is weird. And my anxiety was gone. And I felt really happy. And I just started going around and hugging everybody. I started to just hug everyone. And I'm like, I was so happy. Like, it felt like they were my family. And I'm like, okay. So after the church service, there was this ice cream social thing where the church was giving ice cream to the community. They were going to do it across the street from the church at this park. Now, a couple weeks before, I had hurt my foot. I don't know what I did. Worn bad shoes or something, but it felt like I had a bone spur or something in the ball of my foot, and it really hurt. And I remember I'd been complaining about it like every day at the barn, and I'd be like hobbling around limping. And so I was helping set up for the ice cream social thing, whatever it was. And I was going back and forth getting ice, getting chairs, tables, whatever they needed. My foot was just throbbing. It hurt so bad. And so I sat down, and my friend came over, my friend Teresa, who I have another channel with. She came over and she put her hand on my foot and she's like, in Jesus' name, foot be healed, or something like that. And I'm like, huh, yeah, right. Like, laughing, like, yeah, like anything's gonna happen because of that. Like, I was not expecting anything to happen. And all of a sudden, that same feeling that I had when I was like, Jesus, change my life, like, I want to live for you, that same tingly feeling was in my foot. And the pain was gone. The only way I can describe it is like the pain dissolved. It just dissolved away. And I tapped my foot on the ground. I'm like, wait a second, it doesn't hurt. And I got up and I started stomping my foot on the ground, almost like I was trying to hurt it again or something. And I'm like, guys, it doesn't hurt. Oh my god, what the heck? And I was like freaking out, and I started to run around. And I'm like, it really doesn't hurt. It's hurt for 2 weeks. Has been throbbing. It was just killing me, and I was limping, and it was gone. The pain, it was gone. So I would say that's the first day of like miracles, at least miracles that I've been aware of, because looking back into my past, I see how many answered prayers I have and miracles that had happened before to save my life even. I always thought they were coincidences, and even after this happened with my foot, I thought it was a coincidence. I'm like, this is a fluke. This is never gonna happen again. I was wrong. It wasn't a fluke. Now we come to a few days later, and I'm still thinking the thing that happened with my foot was a fluke. Now the pain never came back, and I'm like, maybe I willed it away or something. But then I thought about all the times that I was sick, that I had headaches, that I fell off a horse and like really hurt myself, and I'd actually try to be like, just don't think about the pain, just don't think of yourself being better, like try to, and so I'd sort of be like trying to will it away, and that never worked. Never. It was strange, but I'm like, it's just a coincidence. So this night, my sister's friends were over, and they're not Christians. I don't believe they were, but maybe they've been to church. I have no idea. But anyway, I started to get a migraine, and I get migraines very often, and it's not just like, oh, it's a bad headache. No, it's bad. Like, it's called a neurological migraine, and what happens is it's when you drink a lot of caffeine and you're kind of caffeine dependent, and the first thing that happens is like you get a little bit of a blurry vision. I forget what it's called, but it's like your peripheral vision kind of goes and you see these spots, and the only way I can think of to describe it is like when a television goes fuzzy and it's all that fuzz. It's like I get little spots of that and it's like fuzz. And so that started happening, and then it gets progressively worse. Then sometimes my hearing goes, sometimes I get really dizzy, sometimes I throw up, sometimes I can't speak like my words get slurred, or I can't think clearly, or It's just very difficult for me to speak, and sometimes I cramp up, like it is bad. And then the last thing that comes is a piercing headache, and it's terrible. So I started to get one this night, and I have medication for it, but I don't like to take the medication because it makes me feel nauseous. So normally I take some ibuprofen. So I started to get it, and I'm like, I thought about my foot, how my foot was healed, and I'm like, nah, it wouldn't work. That was just a coincidence, but I'm like, but I kind of want to try. I'm like, what if it does work? And so before I grabbed the medicine, I put my hand on my head, and I said, I don't remember if I said it in my head or if I said it out loud, but I said, in Jesus' name, pain away. I might have been whispering it because I didn't want the other girls to hear me and think that I was like weird or crazy or whatever. But at this point, I don't really care anymore. I was praying for my headache to go. I'm like, migraine, be gone in Jesus' name, pain away in Jesus' name. And it felt like it was throbbing less, and my vision was coming back. And then I'm like, it's working. And then all of a sudden, it just came right back. And I'm like, and so I did it again, and it started to go away. And then it came back, and I prayed again. And then it was gone. I had to pray a few times for that, but it was totally gone. And then I got really excited because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you serious? Did that really just happen? Did my headache just go away like that, or my migraine? I'm like, that is not possible. I'm like, how did that happen? How did that work? Like, what the heck is going on? And I was a little freaked out because I'm like, it felt the same way, like when it left, it like, the pain just dissolved. It was just gone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, you don't know what just happened. And they're like, what? I'm like, I was just getting a migraine. And instead of taking medication, I prayed in Jesus' name for it to leave. And it did. And I was expecting for the headache to come back, being like, oh, I was just willing it, and it's not, like it was all in my head, and it was just gonna come right back. And it never did. It was gone. And I was just like, what? What? Like, what is this? So I'm like, I didn't know what to think. And then, of course, me being me, I'm like, oh, it's just a coincidence. It was just a coincidence. Like, I kept saying that to myself. I'm like, but this isn't, that's not even rational. I'm like, that's not normal. It's not normal. It's just not.